Hi guys, welcome back. So in today's video, I'm just going to be covering 5 things that I do to help me study during the week that I think are key and essential to how I make it through medical school and taking my information. So if you're interested, just continue watching and don't forget to like and subscribe to this video by saying that my study schedule is still not 100% solid to me, but I feel good enough about it now that I can share like these 5 things that I'm telling you about are cornerstone things that I do every week. I may do them in a different order, I may do them slightly differently, but these are the things that get done like that I feel like I need to do to be prepared for the week. How much time I may put into them has changed throughout the time I've been in medical school or how much effort I put into them, but these are the things that I feel like are core to how I take in and learn my information. So just to say, to be completely transparent, it's not perfect for me. I still waver a little bit, but this works for me. If it helps you figure out what works for you, hey, we're all here to learn. So the first thing about how I get prepared for a week, and which starts us off, is pre-work. I ideally, in a perfect world, would like to do all of my pre-work on a Sunday, and that is the goal that I shoot for. Sometimes that does not happen depending on the type of weekend I had. So if I have to drive home, or I just need a day and then to lay in the bed a little longer, or things like that, pre-work may or may not get done. Also depending on what Monday looks like. I do not do pre-work for the whole week over the weekends. I try to have a few hours in the afternoon to the evening where I don't do anything and try to make that my time to recover. So I'm not finishing one week and going straight into anything else. So my pre-work day is Sunday. So on Sunday, I'll look at whatever lectures and whatever's happening on Monday, and I will do all of those things. If it's not too heavy, I may do other days, but that's usually not what happens. And with pre-work, I think it's also a culmination of, do I do outside resources or do I do class resources? Now where I'm at and what I feel good about, I do the recommended things for class, or the readings, the videos for class, because when it comes to quiz time, there's always little tidbits in the class material that they emphasize on the quiz that maybe a board's video didn't, or Pathoma, because my school writes their quizzes. So I've learned to put my attention towards those and my time there first. And then I will go back in and supplement with the outside resources after I go to class and when I'm doing my learning objectives, which we'll talk about in just a few moments. But yeah, pre-work, we do it on Sunday, and pre-work, I do class things preferably. If the class stuff is just unbearable, I'll do the outside resource, or if it's too long, but preferably your girl does whatever they recommend for the class things for my pre-work, or at least look at it. So the second key thing in my preparation for a week and how I do on my quizzes and things is me deciding if I'm going to class and which classes am I going to. At the start of med school, I was going to no classes. I think the first few days I went to everything mandatory and non-mandatory, and then it just switched to only mandatory. Here now I'm telling you that I now prefer to go to non-mandatory classes if I can, only or mainly because it gives me more free time in the afternoon, so I don't have to wait for the recordings to be posted. I can get it done early in the day. It's just knocked out. I don't have to think about it. So it's more so like a sanity thing for me. But not going wasn't harmful. I think the only thing I don't like about it is that class can go slow at certain moments. Like you can't watch it on 2 times speed. So like what the speed is at is the speed that it's at. So I try to check in with myself at the beginning of the week. I see how many classes we have, what the classes are, who's teaching the non-mandatory ones, and how do I usually like feel about how they lecture, and things like that, and try to give myself a general idea of what I'm going to attend in real time. And then the morning of, like I wake up early and I assess like how I feel, and once we start getting the Tuesday, Wednesday, seeing like, did I finish everything from Monday? Do I feel like good on that to like move forward with things? I'll assess like if I'm in the headspace to pay attention even when it gets slow, and like keep the attention span during that real time, because if not, I don't see the point in me going, because I'm gonna goof off on my phone, or I'm gonna go fold clothes at the same time. So like it's just like it's pointless. So like deciding to go to class is maybe a reflection of like if I think I'm going to be using my time productively, which is something I check in with myself all the time, and which is like very key into making sure I get through all of my material for the week. So that's usually how I base it off of. Things of that nature. It's just more of a personal time thing. If I know it's going to be slow and I know I'm not going to pay attention or I'm not in the mood, I don't go. I work on something else that I had scheduled for later in the day, and then I'll just watch that recording on 2x speed and maybe try to catch the next lecture for the day, and catch as many as I can in real time. I would say this third thing is my favorite thing to do during the week. Or I shouldn't say favorite because it takes me forever, but this is like my cornerstone of med school, and it is the learning objectives. So the learning objectives, I feel like, are essential to me is because they're a pathway. Like, they give you a gauge on what's primary to focus on when you go into lecture. Like, okay, if lecture is being slow right now, I know that I should pay more attention when this part of the gallbladder or this part of the liver comes up, versus like we're just talking about, I don't know, something that doesn't relate to anything like on the learning objectives. Like it's not gonna tie in any way. Like that's how you gauge like what somebody's telling you is extra information, or it's something that's needed that you'll see on a quiz, on a board exam, on a test, things of that nature. So learning objectives are critical for me. I usually try to do them after every lecture later that night, so that's saving the time beginning going to class in real time. With those, primarily, it forces me to go back over lecture material and see how much I can recall and how much I really know without being primed by lecture, and, you know, seeing the poll results and things like, you know, just not being swayed at all, like you alone, what do you know? For learning objectives, I usually annotate my first aid at that point. That's usually when first aid and I spend the most time together, because the definitions in first aid are concise. It's straight to the point. It's linking it to other things. You can look up other things in first aid right away. And I have a book copy of first aid, which I love, and I have a PDF version. I prefer to use my book, and then I use the PDF version to copy and paste the books or the pictures into my notes. But yeah, I usually annotate first aid. That's when I spend the most time, and I feel like it helps me key in on the buzzwords and specific things that will show back up on the board exam, and then probably also are gonna pop up in the quiz for class. And then I'll go over the lecture slides at the very end once I answer all the learning objectives and things of that nature, just to make sure there isn't anything I'm forgetting. But when I tell you learning objectives are my thing, you're gonna ask anybody who knows me, I'm like, I'm doing my learning objectives. Like, I'm gonna do them. Like, even if I like don't keep up with them for the weeks, like they're gonna get done before the exam, because like they're very critical to how I do exam prep as well. And they help me feel confident that I've like gone over the key things that I was supposed to like have learned. Even if I don't know them 100%, I know I look at it. I guess another major thing really for how I prepare for the week in general is quiz preparation. Like, all in all, at the end of the week, we have a quiz each time. And so ultimately you're going to class, you're doing all of this to see how well you can perform on the quiz, which is a measure basically of how well you learn the material for the week. Our quizzes are pass fail, but we still can see the percentage and how many we missed and got right and things like that, so you can kind of gauge. So it's more for completion is what the school looks at, but they do like assess your performance. I would say that for quiz preparation, learning objectives are critical for how well like I do on those quizzes. There have been a few weeks where I didn't do my learning objectives and I did well, but I probably wasn't doing the learning objectives because I felt really good about all the material and I was able to tie it in, and I did them after the fact. But I usually try to do my learning objectives every night after whatever lectures occurred that day. I try to do most of them. Sometimes doing all of them is overwhelming. I don't do all of them. And then when Friday comes around and they release the quiz, I hop right on it and I try to do the quiz at least by 2-3 o'clock-ish. And then I'll kind of gauge like how I felt on the quiz. Like, when I was answering the questions, did I feel like the Mr. Krabs meme? Like, did I feel like I don't know what the hell is going on? Or did I feel like, okay, like I was moving through confidently? Like, I felt like even though if there were some things I didn't know, like I could answer them, or I could like make a very educated guess about where like I needed to be. And then it gives me an idea of like what they felt like was important from the week that they wanted us to key in on. And then I'll take my quiz. I might do another hour at most of items. And then I'm done for the night on Friday night. And I'll just wake up early Saturday and go back over my learning objectives and see the key things in the learning objectives that were on the quiz. Did I answer them? If not, go back over those again. Did I not answer some things? Do those and maybe answer the few things I haven't done. That usually takes me 2 or 3 hours or whatnot. And then the goal for me to incorporate into my study schedule is also on Saturdays, maybe probably doing practice questions or things like that for a few hours just to solidify the week and feel good, and then still have my afternoon. Doing my quiz prep like that, it's kind of scary to just like say, whatever, here I go, I'm taking a quiz. Like, I'll kind of look at my learning objectives, or I'll preferably look at the summary slides of each lecture from the week and just say, hey, we're doing it. But ultimately, the quiz is supposed to assess like how well I know the material from the week. So if I feel confident enough that I know I can pass, like I know I can do the minimum pass level, like I'm taking the quiz. Like if I feel like no, nothing well. But yeah, quiz prep, it ain't the test. And it's just for completion. So like, let's get it. You're still learning anyway. So you also know when it comes for test prep, this week is the week that you need to start studying earlier than the others. So, but again, quiz prep is essential. Like how you go about it is key, because you need to keep your confidence up, but you also need to like be real with yourself. Like you're not gonna know everything perfectly every week. So it helps you assess where your flaws are at so you can keep doing what you need to do, or I need to do, because we're talking about. So I guess my final thing and how I prepare for a week, which is general for anybody, I ultimately do my learning objectives, go to class, do my pre-work, all based off of my mood. Like I check in with myself multiple times a day. If I'm hungry, I go eat. I take a break for 10 minutes after, 20 minutes after. If I need a nap, I go take a nap. Should be for 30 minutes. But sometimes I'll sleep 2 hours. Like I did that today. Like I'm a little behind today. And I also wanted to record. I felt bad about it. So I recorded. But like I'm willing to stay up later and do it because like I'll be in the headspace. Like I feel good about like my own schedule. So like that works for some, doesn't work for others. It's a little scatterbrainedish, but it's gotten me this far to med school. So I would say ultimately like a lot of the things I do based off how I feel. Like if I'm studying and there was one block I didn't do learning objectives, like learning objectives didn't feel good. I didn't do them. Like I felt like I wasn't learning. I felt like my attention needed to go. I did a lot more practice questions then. That's what I did. So ultimately my study schedule is based off of how I feel, what I need in that moment, and checking in with myself, which I feel like is key for my mental health, and everything else follows behind, like my happiness in school and still being me while being a student. So that's probably my favorite thing of the study week, you know. Whatever you do, if you don't do it now, just know you got to make up for it later. And if you're willing to do that, which I usually am, and you just do it with some coffee or something, like you're good to go. Like it's gonna be a good week. Ultimately, my study schedule is revolving around those 5 key things. I just adjust and adapt, but making sure those are the core items. My study schedule isn't perfect. It hasn't been perfect. I have tweaked it so many times, but I felt good making this video knowing those were like my 5 key cornerstones. But let me know down in the comments, like, how do you prepare for your study week in any level of schooling that you're doing? What do you like to do? What are your like cornerstones that have to happen as well? Also, let me know if you guys want to know how I test prep. Thanks again for watching. Thank you for tuning in. Like and subscribe if you haven't already. Can't wait to talk to you guys next time. Bye.